Hey guys, Shutters and Triggers here, and I'm coming at you with another piece of perfect EDC gear. Almost as handy as the Beretta Nano to take everywhere. Some of you are going to be coming to my channel from the photo side of life, so don't be alarmed that you see guns. You might see some knives, but what you came here to see is a camera. This is the Olympus. Let me switch to manual focus here. This is the Olympus X100. This is a Rangefinder Hybrid. And basically what that means is that this is not a true rangefinder. A little smudgy. But it can function kind of like one. And but this is also not an SLR, it's not a point and shoot, it's somewhere in the middle. So, where to start with this? It's 12 point something megapixels. It's not really that important to me. It could be to you, but I don't find that it matters that much. It's a very functional camera. I bought this kind of as a camera to use for travel, a camera to use for EDC, a camera to use for EDC is everyday carry, for those of you that don't follow this kind of stuff regularly. I bought this for emergency backup. This camera is not a DSLR. It will not function as a DSLR. It is not as fast as a DSLR, but it is very, very functional and very, very capable. So yeah, one of the more striking features, and it was something that Fuji did a really good job of talking about. I just turned the camera on. Your on switch is right here, on off. Is the Optical Electronic Viewfinder Hybrid. And basically what that means is right now the viewfinder is open and it will function as a kind of a rangefinder viewfinder. It doesn't have a manual focus, it's an autofocus rangefinder, but it will function that way. But if you activate this switch here, let me just make sure that we are... If you activate this switch here, it should... Oops, check that out. That's not what I want. It should... There we go. Close that. See that? When you close that, you are looking through an electronic viewfinder that looks straight through the lens. And when you are looking through the optical viewfinder, which is what it's on right now, this is the electronic, this is the optical. When you're looking through the optical viewfinder, you have kind of a heads-up display readout of what all is going on with your camera, shutter speed, you have a real-time histogram, all of that good stuff. There's like composing grids you can use. You get battery, you get shots remaining. You can have way too much information in your viewing screen. But that's what you see when this is open. Then you see just over the lens, and it actually has a parallax correct. So once you focus, it will adjust your frame a little bit for you to compose in. If you've ever used something like this, you understand what a parallax correct does and what kind of how a rangefinder works. We're not talking about this today. So it's not a true rangefinder, but it functions as one a little bit. You have a aperture selector ring, which you can use. You can also step between third stops here if you would like. What else? You have a exposure compensation dial. Here are your shutter speeds. I typically run this camera with shutter set to auto and a manual aperture. So that would be the equivalent of aperture priority on a DSLR, which is my favorite mode. You have a function button here, and you have a raw button here. These are programmable to do whatever you want. I have my function button set up to activate the neutral density filter. What the neutral density filter will allow me to do is it slows the camera down a bit. That's not the right way to say it. It blocks some of the light, so you can shoot at ISO 200 wide open in the daylight. It will block some of the light. And the best way to illustrate this is if I push this button down, you can see the aperture opening and closing here a little bit. See that? Now, if I activate the neutral density filter, see that? That's the neutral density filter. And it's a physical, this is something that I didn't know when I bought the camera and I was very curious about. It's a physical neutral density filter. So there's actually a filter there that's blocking the light. So that's really cool. I've bought neutral density filters to use on my 4x5 cameras and stuff like that. And it's cool to have one built in. Now I have the RAW button set up to cycle through my ISOs, which is kind of cool. You can use this as a view mode, so you can have the back of the camera on like that. So if I hit here, there's my ISOs. This is a scroll wheel. And sorry about that. Let me dial my exposure back in. That'll work. So yeah, so this is a scroll wheel. The biggest gripe that I have about this is this menu button here can be difficult to press. It's just very recessed, and with my big thumbs, like I can kind of I can hit some of these other buttons. There is a company that makes an accessory that sticks directly onto that and raises it up a little bit. I have one of those on order, and it should be here this week. What else? Let's see. View mode. There's an eye sensor. You can see that activated. And basically what that does is it means the back screen is activated. Let me put that ISO away. The back screen is activated until you put your eye up to the viewfinder, in which case it activates the viewfinder. Best way to illustrate that it would be to see that, and then you see the electronic viewfinder kick in. So that's cool. I have no use for this whatsoever. I will keep it on this mode primarily, which is the viewfinder mode. You also have a, okay, let me go back to this. You also have a macro mode, which is activated like so. What a macro mode will do is it will allow you to focus close, as you can see. What's nice about the macro mode is it will allow you to focus very, very close. So I just took a picture of my desktop here. And I mean, I am 3 inches away maybe, so it'll allow you to focus very, very close. What it does do, in addition to that, is it forces you, if you're using the viewfinder, it forces you into the electronic viewfinder. Just because with the parallax, it's difficult to focus on what you intend when you're in this macro mode. You'll almost always be out of focus. So they just, in the previous firmware, they did not force you, and they have gone to the point now where they just force you into the electronic view to correct for the parallax. Some of you can see, if you see these two lines, that's your horizon indicator. So it will tell you when you're holding your camera level. It's very, very cool. So I'm going to get out of macro mode here. Let's see. Your controls on the back. This will review your images. You have a magnifier, so you can kind of move in here and look around your picture, make sure you're in focus. Zoom out, zoom in. As mentioned before, this here will step up third stops to really fine-tune your exposure if you need to. That is a little bit more applicable when you are set to a shutter speed. So say we're set to a 60th at 2. You can see this is, let me focus you in a little bit closer. Your meter runs along the side of the screen here, and I don't know if I'm picking it up very well. There you go. You can see your meter along the left side of the screen there. And so from there, you could dial in your exposure just right. You also see your live updating histogram, which can be kind of cool. What else? You have a drive mode, which will be a still image. It'll take 5 frames consecutively or 3 frames. You have a bracket, if you want, ISO bracket, film simulation, so they have Provia and Velvia settings and stuff like that on here, which has limited use for me. Dynamic range bracket. All of this really functions if you're not shooting RAW. You should be shooting RAW, so I'm not even going to go over these. You have a motion panorama, which, I mean, I'll show you kind of how it works. It's kind of neat. Yeah, 120 direction from left to right. Basically, the way this will work is you start to take the picture, and then you pan your camera slowly, and it will capture and stitch a panorama. It can be kind of cool, and then it has a movie mode. The movie mode seems to function pretty well. I haven't used it too extensively. I was hoping to replace my 5D, which is this camera, with this, but I don't know if that's going to work out so well. You also have a flash, so you can do a suppressed flash, or you can force the flash on. Or in, like, I think in completely auto. Yeah, in completely auto, you can do an auto flash, so it will decide if you need a flash or not. Once again, probably never going to use it, so there you go. This camera does have a leaf shutter, however, so you can sync your flash at any shutter speed. That just that just fired the slave on my pro photo that I'm using to light this with. Check that out. That might be my new Facebook picture. But let's see, what else? What else am I missing? This camera has very, very usable ISO. Up into the high ISOs. I've shot with this at 800. It'll go up to 6400. That might be pushing it, but I'm not positive. I don't have any tests to prove that or disprove that, but it could be very, very cool. I mean, I know that it has low light capability, and it has a lot of functionality. This is a very high function camera. The lens is sharp. Lens is really sharp. Captures a lot of detail. It's 12 megapixels, and as you can see, it fits in the palm of my hand. Now, setting this back down, for some of you more gear nerds and EDC guys, what I like about this camera, let me turn it off, is this is a lens wrap. This is a, what size lens wrap is this? I think this is a medium lens wrap. These are great, by the way, for cameras, for gear, for binoculars, for whatever. They're awesome. But for those of you who know about my Maxpedition Sitka as my EDC bag, what the size of this camera allows me to do is EDC it. iPad, X100. Boom, EDC right there. Works great. I keep it in the lens wrap just to protect it and not scratch up the screen, but it works awesome. So, what else? What else? I will probably insert some sample photos that I've taken. I've only had the camera a few days now. I've shot with it quite a bit in those few days, but I wanted to do kind of a preliminary review. You can pick these up now for about $1,000. They've been discontinued. They were $11.99, I think. There's talk of the X200 coming out, which I'm sure will be awesome. I just am a little weary of being on the bleeding edge of technology. So there you go. This is kind of a long-winded review. I hope it was practical and showed you how it works and showed you what it can do. I love this camera. I'll add some images in at the very end, so stick around so you can see some that I've taken with it. That's about it. Like, you know, like everything else, if you have any questions, comment or PM. I would appreciate a like or a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe, and that's it. Shutters and Triggers, signing out.